All right, we are live. Sunny days in Flushing, coming off a rainout, so that sucks after winning the first two games of this series. But let's break down the past couple of weeks here in Metsland. My co-host here, Sunny Days Zach. Zach, how we feeling?
Feeling all right. Been a few interesting weeks to say the least. I mean, the Mets have been up and down. Winning some series, losing some badly, splitting a few. They're in a weird spot right now, and things might look like they might be turning around with some infusion of youth coming that has come up, and hopefully some of the staples start to turn around like Lindor has.
Yeah, definitely a weird couple of weeks because we were riding high, coming off
It's the
what
Dodgers
was it?
series.
The Dodgers series.
They won 2 of 3.
We lose that series in San Francisco, and then we kind of just have this stretch of losing. Before we got swept in Tampa last week, it was 2 out of 4 against the Cubs. Then we lost 2 out of 3 against the Cardinals. So it definitely feels good going to St. Louis, taking two out of a possible, really two, right?
Well, 2 out of 2 now, and then
Two.
they're going to have a one-game
And when is that game
makeup.
postponed for?
August 5th, if I'm not mistaken. It's right in between. They're heading out west, and they play. I think they play Colorado right after St. Louis, and then they go to Seattle. So I think they're home against the Braves the first to the fourth. The fifth they play the Cardinals, and they go to Colorado and then Seattle. So that'll be a gauntlet.
Yeah, that always sucks seeing them postpone games into August because you know that they're hurting, like you're playing day after day in the heat. So it's you want to see them get what they could get out kind of now, but at the same rate, I think it's like we said, it's been a weird couple of weeks. It's been a weird past 2 weeks for them, so maybe this break is good. Give the guys a breather. But I mean, yeah, when you're winning, you kind of want to just keep going. And tomorrow was a day off anyway because their next game's not till Friday against Atlanta. The first time we see Atlanta at home, which that's kind of setting up to be something interesting because the last time we played, it was supposed to be 4-game, ended up being a 3-game, same thing, rain out. But we took 2 out of 3 in Atlanta, which never happened since they built Truist Park. I mean, the Mets, it's been a disaster for the Mets there. So,
and that was after a really rough start to the season, too. So that was kind of like a very uplifting moment for the Mets, really going down there and beating that juggernaut of a team.
Right. No, that was definitely that was uplifting. And that was kind of like, that was kind of not a turnaround. In a way, it was a turnaround because there wasn't a major sample size. But like you kind of did start to feel better about the team and that maybe it was just a slow start. Yeah. So let's break down probably the biggest thing that's happened since we've all seen each other. Christian Scott has his debut. Zach, start us off.
I mean, the kid was phenomenal. I mean, it was so funny, like watching the game and going on Twitter and having everyone freak out after the first inning. I mean, it was just people were jumping the gun on him, and then he comes around and just spins a gem. He went out there and he shoved, and he did not let a single bit of adversity get to him. And he looked like he is poised for superstardom. I mean, really, just to go out there and really have a rough first inning. And yeah, it was some weak contact, and he kind of labored through a 19-pitch first inning and was able to turn it around and really go out there and be extremely efficient while getting guys swinging and missing. Actually created the most swings and misses by a Mets starter this year. And just go out there and probably the second best performance by a starter other than Sevy's after Sevy's no-hit bid that went into the 8th.
Yeah. I agree with Chris here. Christian Scott is the truth. Chris, shout out to my boy Bucky's out in Milwaukee. Or actually he might be in Australia right now. I have no idea where Chris is, but he's a world traveler. He was actually in Tampa last weekend.
Okay. Bucky's the gas station?
No, well, we call it Bucky's. It's kind of a stupid story, but he was actually at one of those games. But Christian Scott. I mean, he looked nervous as shit out there. Chris got to see him live Saturday. That was awesome.
That's awesome. Good for you, Chris.
He looked nervous as shit, but once he settled in, he looked really good. very poised, very calm, did not let any runners kind of get to him.
No.
I guess where you and me kind of disagreed on that start was I didn't agree with pulling him at 6 2/3. I think you should have let him get that final out. I think he could have. I understand where Mendoza's coming from with the pitch count, which with letting a runner on, and you want to preserve it. I get it. I think what I had a bigger issue in that game was going to Ottavino. My dog is asleep on the floor. Going to Ottavino in I want to say the 8th. They're playing they're against the 1, 2, and 3 hitters in that lineup. I think that was the time to go to Edwin Diaz. And I know I guess hindsight's 2020, but like that's my belief. Late in the game, it could be the 7th, it could be the 8th, it could be the 9th. If I'm seeing the 1, 2, 3 hitters in a really, really powerful, potent lineup, I don't want to see Edwin come in for that, because in that situation, the 8th was like the 9th was kind of no longer relevant.
No.
You're the away team, you don't get last licks. So like you dug yourself a hole and you couldn't get out of it because you only had one more set of at bats to do that. It just sucked. It sucked, and I going forward, I mean, that was one thing I will commend Buck Showalter for. He would go to Edwin when he thought it was needed, not just like, oh, he's the closer, so he comes in the 9th.
No, he did, and I think Mendoza has too. I think
he has.
Which
is shocking why he didn't do it there.
Well, I think a big part of it was because Tampa is a team that has struggled mightily coming into was struggling this whole year essentially, and we kind of got him out of their funk.
Yeah, we helped them.
Yeah, of course. But so he probably thought he can get one by them and sneak Ottavino there in the 8th, and it just didn't work out. Mendoza's done a really good job of managing this ball club so far. So he's going to make mistakes. Every manager does. Managers are going to win 10 games. They're going to lose 10 games. It's what happens with the rest of them. You know what I mean? Yeah. They're gonna make mistakes that are going to win games. They're going to make mistakes that lose games. They're going to make great decisions that win games. And it's just what happens in between. So I think what you're getting at with Christian Scott, I'm more indifferent towards it. I would have liked to see him finish out that 7th inning, but in the same breath, this is someone that has not pitched a ton in the minors. He was, if I'm not mistaken, a reliever in college, or he wasn't a fully stretched out starter until really till he got to the Mets. So to really, give him that full workload, it's tough. And I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's only a couple pitches, but then a couple pitches turn into a couple batters, and a couple batters turn into Tommy John surgery. You know what I mean? It's not going to be, one after the other, but it'll happen if you burn this guy out. And someone that has risen this fast and has shown as much skill as he has needs to be protected. And it's not like we're going to wrap him in bubble wrap. When we need to let him loose, we should. But it's his first start ever. It's May. Give it some time. That's how I feel about it. I don't hate it.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I mean, I think I was more upset, I think, with the Ottavino decision, and to add insult to injury, to come out to the mound and to let Ottavino talk you into letting him stay into that game when you knew from the get-go he did not have it. And he lets 2 runners on. He's got runners on first and second, 1 out. That's the prime time to just pull him. Put in Reed Foley, and even if Reed Foley gives up 1 run, like, you stand a chance, right? You have an opportunity. And, Ottavino gets bailed out by what I thought was the greatest play I've ever seen Francisco Lindor make in a Mets uniform. I mean, a chopper that he almost didn't really have a chance to even catch.
Yeah.
He gets, and on the run, in like almost a little less dramatic than Derek Jeter, right? But in Jeter fashion, jumps and throws a bullet to home plate, gets the force out at home. I mean, you got bailed out. Like, plain and simple, you got bailed out by what should be a platinum glove guy there at short. So, it hurt, and I just knew when Mendoza went to the mound, like when he left the mound, I was like, that's it, that's the ball game.
Yeah.
Ottavino's going to blow this. and that's the way that's going to go, and that's the way
No.
it did, and it is what it is. But
It's tough because he's had a solid year too, and he's still pitching it. He has a good, decent ERA. His WHIP is below 1, which is really what you want from a reliever. You know, not letting on less than a batter per inning, and the whole bullpen's been great. So I mean, it sucks when you have one of your guys, someone that you're probably a little bit less confident in than other options, go out there and blow, and it's like, oh, I knew it. It is what it is. The whole bullpen's been great. You know, everyone, and it's going to happen. Guys are going to blow saves. Just a matter of the offense.
We've seen it with Edwin, and I hate to say it,
but
like
at the end of the day, the Mets lost that game 3-1. The bats need to be better, and that's another big talking point. Is the bats have been bad. Aside from Nimmo and Lindor, and I guess guys at the bottom, Bader's been good here and there. Tyrone Taylor, he's not getting much playing time anymore, which is weird. And Starling Marte's been solid. Pete's been dreadful. McNeil's been dreadful. JD Martinez has been okay. He's definitely hasn't been what we wanted from him.
He's going to take a little while. We got to be a little patient with him. I mean,
that's why I kind of got to it last, and they shrugged it off. But again, it's not like he wasn't the savior we thought he would be. At least not right now. But guys like Pete and Jeff need to be better, and I think Pete, you're gonna weather the storm with him, and to the off season. I think Jeff McNeil's leash is getting shorter and shorter and shorter, day by day. Because I think he had a pretty good game yesterday, but this is someone who probably doesn't have a spot long term with this club, at least past the contract, maybe even off the team during the contract. And
Jeff McNeil is his career has been as up and down as it's been. He's almost been the model of consistency. Like, he's a guy that's gonna get a hit every day, and he just hasn't been that. And his at bats have honestly been piss poor. I mean, he's got some of them that like look real good, and it's reminiscent of what he was in 22 and in 19. But for the most part, Jeff is like, I can't understand this fall from grace. Like, I just don't get it. It's not like a guy that like has an anomaly year where he hits like a JD Davis, right? The year he hit 30 home runs, hit 300, like those happen from time to time, right? And you kind of question like, is he on the juice or is it juice balls? Is it this? Like, but typically the guys like a Luis Arias and a Jeff McNeil that are steady Eddie, just like slap ball hitters and hit to the opposite field and whatever, move runners around, like that's kind of a trait that doesn't die because it doesn't require power, it doesn't require speed. It's hand-eye coordination and I guess bat speed. But I have not seen a fall from grace like this from any athlete in a long time.
It's tough because I like Jeff McNeil, but I think the big thing was getting rid of the shift. He really abused it. When you really dive into the stats, his batting average against the shift was absurd. Like, he was close to hitting 400, if not over 400 against the shift. And it was just something that he was able to abuse. And for some reason or another, he can't perform the same without it there. It's bizarre. It really is bizarre. Especially, in 22, there was still a shift, correct?
22, there was still a shift, yeah.
Yeah, so, okay. I mean, it's just bizarre. I guess maybe it's a mental thing. Maybe the bat speed just isn't there as much. I really don't know. I mean, you really don't lose hand-eye coordination, at least not in your 30s. not that age.
30 years old, no.
Not at 33, I think he might be 32.
It's just the strangest thing. I can't understand it, but you know what? Ultimately, like, thank God for Acuna and eventually Mauricio when that knee heals.
Chet Williams too.
Chet Williams coming up. So like there are options. Unfortunately, there's nothing ready at the moment. But the worse Jeff looks, the closer we're getting to an Acuna debut.
And that's another good talking point. I mean, just jumping into the prospects. It's been weird for Mets hitting prospects this year. I mean, it's been either injury or just poor performances so far. I mean, guys like they're saying end of May, June. So mid-June. I mean, take your time. Take your time with him. Yeah. The way you got Nimmo's been dynamite. I mean, I know the stats, the average isn't there.
His power is off the charts.
Well, you look at it, every time he's up to plate, I'd say at least once or twice a game, he hits a scorcher, and it's just right at someone. He's been so freaking unlucky. It's insane. Like, He's someone that's just putting bat to ball and he's hitting it hard every single time. And he's getting unlucky, to be honest.
Yeah.
But, but with the way that people, Marte, Taylor, Bader are playing in the outfield, there's no reason to rush Gilbert. It's not like one of these guys is injured. It's not like they're underperforming. They're all performing it at the very least solid, where I could live with this for the rest of the season. Jet Williams, I think it's it's all but over for him making the club at least before September this year. He has an injured wrist. He probably won't be back for another 2 weeks, if that. And Acuna, he's had such a bad start. I mean, May has been awful for him. April, he kind of got it back on track, but, not really. And those are the only guys in the upper minors that really could make an impact. I mean, you got someone like Alex Ramirez, who's been good, but he's kind of cooled off a bit. Parada's been awful. Mm-hmm. It's just been bizarre. Guys that were kind of rising up last year kind of stumbled out of the gates. Guys that stumbled last year can continue to stumble this year.
We'll see as the weather starts to heat up. They're playing a lot of those games in Syracuse and
up north, so it is a bit colder.
They're in the upper northeast. I mean, it's cold, it's windy, it's rainy, it's at times snowy. So the hope is that these guys could kind of start to pick it up a little bit more over the summer, and then September when they open up those 2 roster spots. Maybe maybe one of those guys
be up.
Maybe
especially if we're out of it, they'll definitely be up.
Yeah.
And then, oddly enough, something that I don't think any Mets fans saw before the season, our pitching. Well, we have pitching prospects galore. I mean, we got guys, at the wazoo, like pitching prospects everywhere. Every single step of the farm system has one legitimate pitching prospect that you could legitimately see in a rotation. I mean, guys like Jonah Tong down in Single A, who very well could finish the year at Double A if he continues to pitch like this. It's been absurd what he's done. Nolan McLean, the 2-way player, he's been dynamite down in I think in Brooklyn right now. And then you got Dom Hamill, who's been solid. Blake Tidwell just threw a gem the other day in Double A. So just every step of the ladder is just another pitching prospect, another 1, 2, 3 guys that realistically could be here making an impact. So something that we thought we'd have to spend on or trade for in the offseason or even during the season might be something that would be worth waiting for, at least in terms of a long-term fit.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
And that is something you want to see because the I don't know what word I'm looking for, but starting pitchers are just you don't know what to think about them anymore. Yeah. Do you still want to invest in them as heavily as we did 4, 5, 6 years ago?
This is the best analogy I can think of. It's like paying a running back a ton of money. It's like, and in certain respects, I mean, these are guys that you could be missing them for 2, 3 years, 4 years. I mean, look at Walker Buehler. He's throwing his first pitch or just threw his first pitch since June of 2022. I mean, these are guys once they get injured, they're out for especially serious injury.
Dustin May, guy had Tommy John. No, he had. I don't know where he is. I don't know if he is. I don't know what's going on with him, but I remember had Tommy John in 2020 or something. Came back in 20 or no, had Tommy John in 21. Came back in 22. Instantly Tommy John again 23. That fucking sucks.
I mean, look at DeGrom. Since 2021, since the COVID year, he just hasn't been. He hasn't been consistently healthy. I mean, he's missed half a season here, half a season there. Missed most of last year. Probably going to miss almost all of this year. I mean,
it's a crapshoot, and I think I had heard Evan Roberts talking about this, and I do think that this is kind of the way to go with pitchers. Where it's you hope to keep drafting and developing pitchers, and you play them while they're cheap, and maybe you go out and you spend on 1 or 2, maybe 3 guys. You really spend on one and medium on the other 2, and just kind of hope for the best. Because going the route that the Mets have kind of went the past couple of years of just spending on a pitching staff, just you just see how that came to fruition. And I mean, given the Mets were an odd example of that because 2 of the guys that they invested so heavily in were in their 40s or late 30s. Yeah, Hall of Fame pitchers.
And Hall of Fame pitchers.
Yes, but old. old.
Yeah, old, 100%. And it was
out.
a weird situation too, where Steve Cohen was just trying to buy a World Series. It wasn't it wasn't like he was trying to build and
that
pay
wasn't a
them for the
permanent
long term. No, it was not a
philosophy.
permanent solution. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and that's an interesting point, like that, just kind of cycling through pitchers, like, getting, paying a couple of guys here, maybe trying to get guys on shorter deals, higher AAV, lower in terms of total years on the contract, just trying to cycle through these guys, build guys up in the farm system, have them replace guys that are maybe cross that age. I mean, with the running backs now, it's pretty much once you're off your rookie contract, it's kind of it's contract by contract. It's year by year.
It's a year-to-year thing.
And then, I mean, with starting pitchers, maybe it'll be something similar. Once you hit once you get through arbitration, it'll be year-to-year thing, or unless you're a superstar, and that's the only way. I mean, that's what happens with running backs now. Look at Christian McCaffrey; he's the only one that's going to get paid.
Two things here, that I wanted to bring up. So, one. Let me bring up both points, and you pick what you want to attack first. Is that really happy to see the Mets. The Mets got swept in Tampa, and kind of just like embarrassing, pathetic losses, right? Like not the worst. Like it wasn't the worst thing in the world, but just like no offense. Wasting the Christian Scott start and all that shit. So like seeing them bounce back, and given the Cardinals are not a very good team, but going to St. Louis, taking 2 out of the only 2 you could play, that was really good to see. And that's what I've really liked about this Mets team this year is that, as bad so far, as bad as things can get, you never feel like you're totally falling off the tracks because they're able to kind of pick themselves up, get their shit together, and get it back on track. That's one. 2, I got an update on my phone on my way home from work today that Bader is unhappy with his playing time situation. So I was under the impression that the break in his playing time was kind of like to give him days off, like injury prevention.
Yeah.
Is it a inability thing? Because to me, Harrison Bader has been the most pleasant surprise outside of the starting pitching. Outside of the starting pitching, like of the everyday players that were signed to this team, he has been the most pleasant surprise. Like this is a guy that you knew could play Gold Glove defense, but the bat you were unsure of. I mean, for a while the guy was hitting just under 300. He's come up in the clutch so many times for them this season. Yeah. I mean, dove for a ball Sunday, missed, and they lose. But I mean, the guy dove for like 2 other balls before that and saved the game potentially early on. So I don't know. If I'm Harrison Bader, I understand, man. Like, what more do I have to do? You guys signed me for my glove, and I'm hitting 285, whatever. Maybe he's at 275 now, but like, he's got a damn good batting average. He's coming through in the clutch at the bottom of the order. He's really setting things up well, and I think that kind of attributes to maybe some more of the power we've seen from Nimmo, because I think he's really setting up Nimmo well, because Nimmo's not coming up with 2 outs in an inning and the base is empty. You know what I mean? Like Bader's kind of getting things going for the bottom of the lineup, and that's awesome. So
a good spark plug down there.
What more does Harrison Bader need to do? Like, what do you think the issue is? Why do you think this is happening?
I think the issue is, I mean, having someone like Tyrone Taylor who's been good and just trying to get these guys off their feet. I mean, he's played 30 games, and I mean, what's Matt's record? 17-17 or 18-18?
18.
One of the 18-18. So he's only missed 6 games. I mean, this is someone with known injury issues. And
so you think that this is purely injury prevention?
I think it's injury prevention. The fact that Tyrone Taylor's also been good. I think you have Tyrone Taylor that's been good. I find it bizarre that DJ Stewart has started over, guys like Bader and Tyrone a couple times. That I don't love, but whatever.
But I think they want to keep DJ fresh too, because just having
they want to keep him
multiple
fresh
games is not good.
No, agreed. And then it's just I don't know where his frustration is coming from. He's played a majority of the game. And it's not like this is someone that's the model of health. He's someone that is very injury prone. Get your time off and be happy. You have a starting role on a team because you are a starter. You're playing way more than Tyrone Taylor. Honestly, he's probably even with Starling Marte. I didn't even look at it, but and Brandon Nimmo too. Brandon Nimmo sat out a couple games. Starling Marte sat out a couple games. These guys are going to sit. These guys are known to have injury issues. So I really don't understand where the frustration is coming from. It's also not like, look, he's been good. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like he's been amazing. He has a 654 OPS. Yeah, he's batting 280, but it's not like he's this monster batting you need to have in the lineup every day. Great glove, great on the base path. He's not.
Great
He's not
arm.
in this great arm,
fucking arm.
great fielder, great for late inning defensive substitutions. He's not an absolute necessity. This isn't someone that if he was to request a trade today, I'd be like, good riddance, goodbye. You know what I mean? I wouldn't.
I disagree. I
wouldn't be upset. No,
I love Bader.
I really like Bader too, but if you're gonna go that route of being like you're upset with your playing time, I want to play somewhere else. Go play somewhere else.
Maybe part of it too is like maybe it was something that was kind of blown out of proportion. Like maybe it was just him being like, "Yeah, I want to play more. Like I wish I was out there more." You know, because I didn't watch it. I just read the quotes.
I didn't read it either. And there was a button there from what I heard. So we could be blowing this out of proportion too. And I didn't see anything from anyone else other than Puma. So who knows like how, I mean, I don't know. It wasn't in a interview,
saw it on
right?
the score. It was a score update. The score app. It was one of those updates. And
was it like a full blown interview or was it just a kind of
thing that Mike
Puma heard? Yeah.
So
it could be something that's blown out of proportion. To be honest, but again, like it's not like he's not playing pretty much every day. At the end of the season, he's probably gonna, if he stays healthy, he'll play 130 games, 135 games, which is what Nimmo played last year. Someone who's getting paid $20 million a year. So be happy you're in there contributing almost every day for a team that's fighting for a playoff spot. That hopefully will continue to fight for a playoff spot.
Right.
Especially someone that's missed a ton of time, and this team gave you a chance, gave you a good contract for honestly what you had produced in the past. Now, I think you're living up to the contract for the most part, but
100%.
Yeah, so
because he's not a guy that you brought up his OPS. He's not a guy that you really look at for power. He's a guy that like you hope could get on base at the bottom of the order, and like we said, play Gold Glove defense. And I think, like I said, I think he's done more than that. I think
I'd like a little more pop. I'd like him to get something in the gaps. That's a thing that Mets have really struggled at this year. It's kind of getting doubles.
I'm looking at Lindor. I'm looking at JD Martinez. Like JD Martinez was brought here to hit home runs. That's why he was brought here. He was brought here to hit doubles and hit home runs, drive runs in. Harrison Bader is a guy you're giving $10.5 million to. Like you're giving him that money to play stellar defense, throw guys out, steal bases, and just get on base. And he's, like I said, he's done more. I think he's done more than that at the plate. And so, but
he's been good. He's been good. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
He's been good. That's all I can say about it. He's lived up to the contract, and hopefully it's not something where he's bitter at the Mets. Hopefully it's something where it's just kind of taken a little bit out of context.
Yeah. What do you think of this Cardinal series?
Good. It was a good series. I would like a little more consistency. This team, it's like one day it's the bats are good and the pitching shits the bed. It's another day the pitching's great and the bats, can barely get on base and score runs. So they know.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
They need more production out of the middle of their order, and I'm very close to considering moving Nimmo down to the third spot because he has been awesome. I'm considering bumping Lindor up to the leadoff, or probably Lindor to the leadoff, maybe moving Pete down to the 5, flipping around this lineup a little bit, trying to get guys going, trying to get some production at the top of the order where guys are getting on base. And really lengthen out the lineup a little bit. But it was good to see them get back into the win column, and they just need to get more consistent. Like, look, everyone's gonna have bad days, but we need a team that's not gonna go out there and have 3 games in a row that score a run, and then go out and score 11 runs in the next game where their average they're averaging close to 4 runs a game. Yeah, but look at the the game logs. They're not really out there producing day in and day out. They are scoring bunches, which I don't need.
I need consistent scoring. It was really good seeing Buto bounce back yesterday. Now I'm not sure how many innings he went. What did he go, 5?
Did he go 5? I thought it was 5. I could be wrong. It was 5 or 6. You're right there.
So Buto gives up 3 first inning, looks shaky. But after that, he's steady throughout the rest of his start. That was really reassuring. And that's kind of been a lot of what we've seen out of Jose Buto since he's come up.
5.
Where he has an inning where you look like you're worried that things are going to kind of come off the rails. But like Christian Scott, he's a young kid. I think Buto, he's a little older than Christian Scott, but He's a rookie.
Honestly, I think they're about the same age because Budo came from one of the one of the Latin American countries, whereas Christian Scott was drafted from the University of Florida, if I'm not mistaken. So actually, Christian Scott's a little bit older than you think. He's 23, 24. I think Budo's about the same age, maybe 25. Okay. So,
but
still,
it's good seeing that. It's good seeing that at a Buto.
Agreed.
I want to see, no matter what happens with this rotation, I would, unless Buto totally falls off a cliff, give him a chance to really stay here and pitch. Especially guys like, Quintana is not going to be here after next year. Minaya may not be here after. Like the priority.
Manaya's 2 year.
Minaya, he will be. He's 2 year. I
2 years. Sevy might not be here after this.
Right,
year.
Sevy might not.
That's the more important one because I think Minaya's been good, but Sevy's been awesome.
Sevy's been awesome, but I guess it's a conversation for another day in terms of signing him long term. But Buto and Scott these guys are not going. I mean, hopefully not going anywhere. Hopefully they're stalwarts and they're here for a long time. So that's my concern. Like, I want to see as good as it looks, as bad as it looks. I really, really want to see these kids just get their fair shot and stay up here. Unless, listen, things change. If this team's like really fighting for, a National League East title or whatever, things change. But for the most part, if things continue where they are, let these kids stay up here and just and pitch every 5th day, 6th day, whatever it may be.
Agreed, 100%. And that's an interesting topic you kind of brought up there. I mean, what happens now when Tyler McGill's ready, when David Peterson's ready, when Senga's ready? Now, I know we talked about this briefly before, and I think Stearns has no loyalty to really any of the guys that have been here before he got here. Like, even guys that he's brought in, like Hauser, kicked him to the curb. Someone that you traded for, you traded assets for this guy, and you basically kicked him to the curb. I mean, this is someone that's probably he's still on the team, he's gonna be in the pen, but he's someone that's probably a DFA candidate if you need other bodies up here, you need other arms up here. So is Quintana next on that list if he continues to struggle? Maybe. I mean, look, I know you said McGill still can stay down in the minors. Buto can be option. Christian Scott can be option. But I think Stearns is all for building a great ball club. And if that means being unloyal to some guys that aren't producing here, so be it. We need to build a winning ball club. And if Quintana continues to struggle and Tyler McGill continues to look how he is in his rehab starts, which is phenomenal, he deserves a spot in this ball club. I mean, he was good when he was up here. Granted, it was just 2 starts, but he had a great spring. And he's someone that I think his ceiling is much higher than Quintana and really could provide much more than he will, at least in the long term. Mm-hmm. Plus, I mean, Peterson, I'm kind of lukewarm on him, but Senga, what's happening in Senga? Are we going to a 6-man like they said? Or
that makes the most sense. Like,
it does. They brought it up, so I think that could be very possible, but they said they were going to a 6-man, and then they go and move Hauser to the
There's always a reluctance to fully commit to a 6-man, and I guess it's maybe taking these pitchers out of their normal rhythm. No. But just from a black and white standpoint, like if this is just a computer, like the idea of maybe giving them that extra day's rest, hoping that they could probably go an inning longer than usual. Mm-hmm. Because they're going to have 1, 2, 3 less starts in a, probably more than that, less than a season if it's a 6-man rotation. So that would be the hope. That would be the hope, and I would love to see that work. And that way, all of these guys could stay up here. Sanga, our ace, our true ace, could be in his normal rhythm. Mm-hmm. That's what you want to say. And maybe you could kind of work things out to where Sanga pitches at home 70% of the time, right? Like in a 6-man rotation, you could kind of do that. Now, I think you're kind of hamstringing him by doing you're giving him a crutch.
Well, you're hamstringing the ball club because you got to take a bullpen guy out. You're losing a bullpen arm there, and this is a team that has really used the bullpen so far this season. So to kind of shorten that bullpen a little bit more, it might not be the best thing you can do because these guys, at least as starting pitchers, have walked a lot of batters. They haven't gone as deep into games. And you hope that can turn around and change. But if it can't, it's probably not the best thing to do. Because if these guys continue to struggle to get deep into games, you're going to want that extra arm there. Guys that can at least eat up innings and really, provide some relief for guys like Diaz, Ottavino, Diekman, Garrett, and Foley that are going to be pitching very frequently.
The other reality that comes with this is that, like this is baseball and it's Mets baseball and like someone's
Yeah.
just bound to get hurt and we know that.
We'll see what happens.
Senga,
I
you know,
mean,
I hope that's not how Senga fits back in, but like, you know,
No.
keep that in mind too. Like guys get hurt, guys have to go on the IL for a little bit.
no.
We saw it with Tyler already. So, and hopefully that's
And
not
Brooks
the case.
Raley, I mean, we've
Yeah.
gotten lucky. No big names have gotten hurt yet. Knock on some wood. Yeah. I mean, but Brooks Raley was the biggest blow. And I mean, I haven't seen much else about it, but they said it looks like it could be something serious when originally it was looking like they were hoping it would just be the 15 days he missed. But then I heard another report that they think it could be more now, more serious.
That really sucks.
They didn't really elaborate too much, and that's a big blow. I mean, we had two good lefties, Diekman and Raley were doing really well. Raley was awesome. But, I mean, the Mets have done a great job of filling roles. I mean, Reed Foley's been really good since he's been back and healthy. Reed Garrett's come out of nowhere and been phenomenal. And this bullpen is just pulling guys out of their asses and to plug holes, and they've been great.
It is now 6:40. The Knicks are starting in a little bit. So I want to give you a chance to finish up dinner, get ready for that Knicks game. Do we have any closing thoughts here on Mets baseball?
All I got to say is take the day off, get this day, clear your minds. 2 days off. 2 days off.
Yeah, because they're off Thursday.
Clear your minds and just get into this Braves series and really fucking hit the ground running. I mean, we need Pete. We need Pete Fulbore. We need Lindor. And anyone going to the game, give him that standing ovation on Friday. I've been seeing a bunch of chatter on Twitter about doing a standing ovation treatment for Pete, like they did for Lindor, and really worked for him. Let's get something for Pete going.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll see you all hopefully
Maybe
at
tomorrow.
some point. Yeah, maybe tomorrow, maybe Friday.
No.
Just stay tuned to the social media, and we'll get the posts out there, and we'll let you know when we're going live. So thank you, everybody that tuned in.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll see you soon. Let's fucking go Mets.
LFGM.